Good morning, church. Welcome to day 8 of our prayer and fasting. And today's topic is on marriage. So I'm going to read Genesis chapter 2, verse 23 to 25. So if we want to know about marriage and have successful marriages, we always got to go to the beginning because God is the one that married the first couple. So in Genesis chapter 2, verse 23 says this: "At last, the man exclaimed, 'This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken from man.' This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Now the man and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame." So in these 3 verses, God gives us 4 points of a successful marriage. What is a marriage supposed to be intended to be? So the first point, separation. It says, "For this reason, a man leaves his father and mother." In other words, he leaves to get married and start a new family. And I know a lot of times when there's not that separation and there's the in-laws involved, it creates a lot of problems. They just got married, they're starting a new family. So the main thing is to separate from his family and her from her family. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't love your family or that you're not loyal to your family, but it means that the loyalty to your spouse should be greater than the loyalty to your parents. If that does not happen, your spouse is always going to feel like second class, that you put your parents first, and it's going to create a lot of problems and friction within the marriage. So point number 2, bonding. It says he leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife. So there's a bonding that takes place in order for the relationship to be successful. Again, if the in-laws are involved constantly and the spouse feels like second place, that bonding is not going to take place. They start living together, they start getting accustomed to one another. So there's a bonding that takes place that connects them together. You know, a lot of marriages, unfortunately, that bonding is not there. They feel more like roommates, you know, instead of a married couple. So that's the second point. The third point is oneness. It says, "And the two are united into one. The two shall become one flesh." Now that happens obviously with the sexual relationship, but it's more than that. There's a unity that should take place in the marriage, that they're both in the same page, that they're both in agreement with major things in the marriage, you know, because I've known a lot of married couples that live like singles. You do your thing, I do my thing, and we just live together. That's it. That's not unity. That's not oneness that the Bible talks about. And to create oneness, there's got to be communication, and you've got to both be in the same page. If not, you can be living together and still be divided. So first one, separation. Second one, bonding. Third one, oneness. And number 4, intimacy. It says, now the man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame. So intimacy, not only physically, but emotional intimacy. There's got to be conversations that you have, sharing with one another. You know, you can live with somebody and feel distant from that person because they don't share anything with you. They don't share emotions with you. You know, so that's important. Emotional intimacy, but also spiritual intimacy. You know, you talk about the word together. You pray, you know, together. You discuss the word. You know, everything revolves around God. That's spiritual intimacy. That you're able to talk about what God is doing in your life. What has God been speaking to you? You know, that's all important, you know, for a Christian marriage to be successful. So those are some of the points you should be praying for your own marriage. If you lack intimacy, pray for that. If you lack oneness, pray for that. If you lack the bonding, pray for that. If you lack separation, I mean, you could be married 50 years, you know, for example, the husband and his mother still first. So you need to pray and break that off if you're going to have a successful marriage. So those are the areas, you know, we need to pray for. Now I want to read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 and 33. This is the passage that Paul gives the roles for the husband and the wife. Starting at verse 22, it says this: "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing of water through the word, to present her to himself as radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it, just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I'm talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So today, church, let's intercede for the marriages in the church, in our families, and friends that we know, that they'll be healthy and successful marriages. God bless, and see you tomorrow.